This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Well, joining us again today, Mike Whitlow, the COO, ECR Minerals. Thank you for joining us again, Mike. How are things?
Absolute pleasure to be back, Mark. Superb. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Well, of course, we spoke on the live show we did last week where we were talking about potential drilling programs. And of course, you've announced that you've started drilling. Drilling is now underway at Creswick, and you announced just earlier in the week as well about some of the plans there. So let me just ask you, how are you feeling, first of all? You said you wanted to do this, and you're doing it.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you listen to the armchair experts who talk a lot about the company, they said we wouldn't be in the field in Queensland as long as we were, and we wouldn't get as much of the work done as we thought, and we did. I think they hung the cap on an acquisition at Hurricane. Perhaps there was an oversight of them not quite realising that acquisition at Hurricane just simply wasn't good value, and indeed it would have triggered an RTO, and that wouldn't have been great for shareholders in the market. And of course, people said, you have no budget and you won't be able to get anything else done. And if you look at your May drill end of the second quarter of 2024, well, they were wrong again. And we've got sufficient capital to take us well into 2024. We have an inventory of kit within the business, which has got a material value. And I think all of this has been a bit of an oversight, and that's what happens, unfortunately, when people are frustrated and exacerbated by the markets and an investment that sadly has perhaps not performed for people historically, and we acknowledge that and recognise it. And this isn't a direct sort of attack on the armchair commentator who may have got it wrong with ECR over the recent months, but it's more a case of me saying, hey, look, I know that you're frustrated. We know that you're disappointed with previous management's performance, but we're here, we're in your corner, and we're on your side, and it's our job to deliver value. And people say, Mike, you're great at talking about talking a good story and talking your book, but we want to see results. Well, the only way you can get that is by putting the drill in the ground. And we said we would do it, and I'm sure people didn't think we would, and now we have. So, yeah, we've kicked things off at Creswick, and we've got a couple of targets there at Davy Road and Cuboid Hill. We've done some sort of reconnaissance work and rock chip sampling and soil sampling. We're quite happy with what we saw down there, and the drill is in the ground, and we'll be judged on the results of that.
Well, indeed, you've said that a number of times, judged on the results of that, and of course, success on the drill bit. That's what you want to give investors. But I mean, you are at the mercy of nature, as we discussed before. So, I mean, what does success look like for you in this? And equally, what does failure look like?
I mean, look, it's a fact-finding mission, isn't it? So I think geologically, the decision has been made thousands of years ago. The decision is not based on anything that's happened in the last few years. We have to do the work in the modern time. We have to make sure that we have ranked our targets, and we've exhausted all of the sort of high definition sampling that's required to generate those targets. But ultimately, if we drill in the right spot, we're gonna have hit a doozy, and if we don't, we're not. And this area is mineral rich. There's been a heck of a lot of activity here, and this goes back to early, old time prospectors. All the way to, producing mines over the last couple of 100 years. And indeed, you've still got mines like Ballarat producing, Fosterville producing. And of course, we've got a lot of drilling activity. So, the world doesn't suddenly think that Victoria's give up all of its gold. In fact, quite the opposite. And we're seeing that results that are conducive with a lot of gold being found and discovered and produced. So, for me, I think it's a case of bringing all of that together and coming up with the right targets. And look, what we did with Creswick and particularly Victoria is we saw a little bit of opinion as well. And that's not because we don't believe in Adam Jones. It's quite to the contrary. It was just a case of let's have another set of eyes on it and see what people are thinking. And, there's a lot of support at board level for us to do this. And there's an element of risk, but that's the game we're in. We're in high risk exploration, and we're a small cap company with a small market capitalisation. And if we want to get out of the tier 3 sub £50 million bucket, we have to go and swing the bat and look for the home runs, and that's what we're doing. So, what does success look like? It'd be great if we got some super high grade gold and lots of it. And the first bit of drilling that we're doing at Davy Road is a bit of a pathfinder. We're going to do a smaller amount of drilling there than Cuboid Hill, and that's the idea. We'll put some holes in the ground early and punch away and see what we can get from that. And like I say, that's a bit of a pathfinder. What's in that area, but more importantly, we're going to get a bit more done up at Cuboid Hill, and we've got a lot of enthusiasm for both target areas. But yeah, we're going to start with the lesser and move on to the more greater of the targets between the two. But there's plenty to go at, and we're happy with how things are progressing, and thrilled to be getting out in the field this year, as we said we would. People said you won't be out in the field. We got a call from the drill contractor who said, "Look, we can give you a week or two now on the build up to Christmas, and then we'll come straight back afterwards." And we said, "Great, let's do it. Let's just keep pushing forward. And if it means that we break up the drilling results, and we get one lot in first, we have 2 phases of drilling activity, that's okay by us. We'd rather be pushing ahead and driving forward. It's what we keep talking about. So therefore, we can't sort of sit on our hands and sit on our laurels. So, the market doesn't reward companies that are doing that."
Well, I mean, it's great that you've managed to get this going before Christmas there. You've mentioned starting with the lesser targets and going on to the greater targets later. You mentioned you might split it into 2 phases depending on how things go. But of course, the RNS on Monday talks about results in Q1. So, I mean, when would you like to get that first phase or those first few targets done? And then indeed, how quickly do you hope to get them into assays and release some of those results to the market?
Okay, just let me be clear. There are a lot of geological synergies between both Davy Road and Cuboid Hill. I would say we have one target that we're going to do less drilling than the other, so therefore the probability of results is that we're going to get more out of the one we do most of the work at. But we felt it was important to put a bit of to punch a few holes in the dirt down in Davy Road, because it's been a niggling area of interest for quite some time, for a multitude of different reasons. The theory is if we get a fair wind and the guys keep working right to the very end of the year, we could well get this drilled all in one hit. Of course, we accept that it may be broken up into 2, and the armchair commentator, I'm sure, will find a reason to suggest, well, they've had to do it into 2 separate sort of phases, and that's not a good thing, because that's what people naturally do. They look for reasons why it can't work rather than why it will. For us, we want to be as keen as we sound, and if we've got an opportunity to get in and get it done, we're going to get in and get it done. What that could well mean is that we get the first set of results a little bit sooner than we've guided the market, and the second set of results might be a little bit after we've guided the market. I think based on the Christmas period and the fact that we've got no idea on how quickly these guys will get the results, or we don't know what that impact looked like, so whether it's a couple of weeks over Christmas, it's better to manage expectations. That's something that's not happened successfully in this company historically. So we could get these results much sooner than we're guiding the market. But at the same time, we just like that little bit of wiggle room, because we don't fully understand how big a break and how big that impact is with the company we use for those assay results. So yeah, I think if we get this first phase in a little bit quicker than anticipated, then those results will come back a bit sooner, and likewise, it may well be as guided for the second set of results. But who knows? We're managing expectations. We're doing what we say we're going to do, and we'll get the results within the timeline we hope that we've guided. As I say, expectations are something that we want to try and manage carefully.
Yes, indeed. Well, of course, it is RC drilling, so you're going to get basically bags of sort of broken rock, aren't you, as samples here, rather than diamond core, where you're going to perhaps get more of an understanding of the geology. So is this more about a sort of first go, look and see what's there? If it's looking promising, it perhaps can open up the door for future work, and if not, it's time to move on to some different targets?
Absolutely. And this is where the company had a huge amount of success back in sort of 2019 into 2020. And again, same with Falcon Metals as well. They use the same process, and it was working. We'll get an idea of grade, and we'll get an idea of depth, and of course we'll be asked at some point in the future to prove it. But this is an economical way of generating some downhole knowledge instead of just scratching around at the dirt surface talking about what we're going to do. We're going to get down there and work within the means that we've been presented with.
Okay. Well, it's good to hear another company is back drilling. It's always exciting when that happens. I always like to follow the story a lot more closely when a company is indeed got those drills turning. Are you going to be able to share some media from site just to prove what's going on?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got Adam down there, and Andrew Scott will probably record something with him as well. One of the benefits of having people who've got a bit of who are kind of media savvy and au fait. Again, we know that we can rely on our friends out there as well around the market to help share and distribute some ideas and thoughts. So, of course, we will. We want the market to share the enthusiasm that we've got for the project right now. And one of the questions that's again being presented is, why have you got a drill contractor? I mean, unfortunately, we don't retain a couple of drilling teams like we did historically when we were a much bigger company with a massive balance sheet. We're in a situation where we need people that are competent, that can get out in the field, that have got some equipment. And we've got our own drill rig down in our core shed, and it's still got the wrapper on, and people are saying, Mike, why are we not using our own rig? Well, we need people and personnel to operate that rig. And that might not be the most economical way forward. And indeed, while it's still in the wrapper, and I think I said this to you at Minds of Money, it's like a white pair of trainers. They command a premium until the minute you get a bit of dirt on them, and then they become less valuable. So for us, that particular piece of equipment at this point in time is probably best left where it is for the time being. And we believe we've got the right people, the right crew to do the job. And it's within budget. So just again, to reiterate, it's within our budget. It's within our means to do this. And we've got plenty of capital to take us into 2024, contrary to what people may or may not think.
I noticed as well, Mike, from the RNS that, of course, this program is going to be undertaken by Mercator Gold, which is a subsidiary there of ECR. And I don't think I've seen that before in ECR. I don't know if that was a method you were using to take advantage of that vehicle down in Australia. And, of course, those very famous tax losses.
Well, we have got $73 million of transferable tax losses, or tax losses that we believe are transferable based on the advice that we've received. Mark, it's important that people know who we are in Australia and who we are in the UK. The company as a PLC is ECR Minerals. In Australia, the subsidiary is Mercator Gold, which historically is the legacy business. So for us, it's important that people understand who we are, home and away, and that's why we refer to it.
Okay. Well, as you said at the start, as you said the number of times, we'll see what the success or not on the drill bit does turn up. But I wish you all the best with your program, Mike. And until next time, thank you very much for your time.
I'm very grateful, Mark, and hopefully we can return with some great news. And I think it's also important for people who are investors, just in general, who may not be shareholders. This isn't an exact science, This is mining. This is exploration. There's going to be some bumps in the road. We can come back and say we've got high grade and lots of it, but there's still going to be more work required. And we could come back and say, do you know what? It wasn't quite as good as we'd hoped, but it's led us on to, another area within this sort of tenement. Who knows? I think, you can look at it both ways, and people, based on their enthusiasm in the markets, will either see everything as a negative, or they can be over enthusiastic. Somewhere in the middle is fair ground, and we hope that we can get onto a little bit of fair ground for our investors and shareholders alike. And we'll speak to you again soon. Thanks, Mark.
Indeed. I look forward to discussing it with you. Thanks, Mike. If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like, or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.